let's talk about the adhesion change. What does that mean? What weapons does it impact? What are we looking for inside of that?
So right off the top, adhesion is one of the three aim assist sort of features that almost every shooter that's in existence, that's a console shooter, utilizes to some degree. So adhesion, friction, and magnetism. Gears has always had friction and magnetism since day one, and in various forms. And certainly 2, 3, and 4 all had the same systems in place. But we added one called adhesion to 5. I think most people are aware of what that actually means, but basically it just allows console players, specifically controller users, to be able to get a little bit of help when they're aiming at and moving with the target. A valid target, that is, so an enemy that's downrange within a certain range of your crosshair. This is a really big help for a wide swath of players, and it's big in the campaign. It's big in PvE, but PvP it causes in a not insignificant number of players, it causes what feels like the crosshair to be bumped around out of players' control. So we've done a lot of sort of soul searching about this, and overall this feature is a boon for majority of players in this game. But when it comes to PvP, it is something that is not necessarily, at least with the player base that's there, it's not helping as much as we would have hoped. Potentially it's hindering a bit more. So all we're simply doing is disabling that for every weapon in the game, in PvP specifically. So it's still there for campaign, it's still there for PvE. But when you play with PvP and you haven't fully disabled the aim assist toggle from the front end, then you will all be playing without it going forward in the dev list. So no more crosshair being jerked around. You will have full agency over the right stick at all times, and nothing will nudge it at all anymore. Right. So it's a pretty big change as far as philosophical change, as far as some of the accessibility stuff we were doing with Gears 5, and it is largely being introduced to the dev playlist specifically because it is such a big deal, and we're trying to get feedback for do people actually notice that it's gone? If so, like how much of an improvement is it? Or if you really do miss it, why do you miss it? All that kind of stuff. So we're looking for that kind of feedback in particular. It's a pretty big change.
So we've heard that other games for console or controller, they have aim assist and adhesion in the game. At no point am I going to attempt to say that this isn't true, because simply it just is. It's in other games. So recently when I've been playing through other games, I've only really noticed it in the aim assist once, to the point I wanted to turn it off, and that was in the Resident Evil 3 remake. So if we have a look at my options, I have now got aim assist off. I'm going to turn it on quickly just for this, and I'm going to walk into this encounter, and I am just going to move backwards so I don't get hit too much, and hold my left trigger down to aim at them. The rest will be the adhesion at play.
Okay, now the fun shit begins.
So once the enemy once the enemy moves into position, the camera starts to automatically track it for me, and look, it's completely locking to the zombie's head for me. I am not doing that. I am holding my left trigger down and moving backwards so I'm not getting hit too much. That is the new thing that they've added to the aim assist in Gears of War, or in Gears 5 rather, that was never in any of the other Gears of Wars. So now I've had my neck eaten, I'm going to reload that same instance, but I'm going to disable my aim assist so we can see the difference. So options, I can never find it, there we go, aim assist, and off. So if we go back into the exact same situation and do the exact same thing, we'll see what happens, we'll see the difference. So it was left trigger only, and I know what's coming, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to try and walk away from zombies. I might have to move my camera a little bit so I can corner around, but other than that, you can already see it's not tracking it for me. I need to start backing up a little bit now. That's me turning, obviously you can cut. Oh, I've already been eaten. But to be honest, you've seen it in that. Okay, aim assist off, it doesn't track the zombies for me. And the adhesion is the new part of Gears. Look, Hello. Bye. Right, so now, if we go back to the menu, and keep in mind, yes, it's clearly in other games, let's have a look where it's in the other games, because that's the part that's been left out. If you go to make a new game, as you'd expect, you're greeted with different difficulty levels. You've got your standard, you've got your hardcore, and you've got your assisted at the top. So if we're trying to think of gears, think of it as casual, hardcore, and insane. So looking at the hardcore on this, you think that's insane, and on gears you'd expect it to say something like, you are the master of the headshot. And then on standard, you'd be expecting to say, you're in it for the story, but your experience, or something like that. I can't remember the wording. And then you'd expect assisted to be like casual. But what does assisted say on this? Aim assist's enabled. That's the only part that's enabled on. Also, it's for players new to the series. I think that says a lot. The aim assist is in the mode that's for new players. The other two, it's not in there. So whilst what we're being told is true, yes, it's in other games. It's in other games in the areas for new players, not experienced players. It's in there to help new players. So after seeing how this is actually in other games, I want to see how these three different types of aim assist break down and actually function within Gears. So the first one I'd like to take a look at, which is the hardest one to show you on a video, because it's, to be honest, it's something you more feel than you can see, but it's friction. So the way this works is when you're aiming over a character, it momentarily slows your cursor, or it feels like your sensitivity gets lowered slightly whilst you're looking at the character. So in a sense, it's helping you hit more shots on that character because it's slowing you down when you're over them. To be honest, this really is something you feel, but you might be able to see this in this video, I don't know. This next one, it's something I'm sure I've all heard of, but not everybody understands the differences and where we're seeing it. And it's magnetism, or bullet magnetism, you may know it as. So what this is, it essentially means you can miss your target but still be rewarded. So in a sense, you can be looking one way to a degree, and you can shoot, you can clearly miss your target, but the bullets will get sort of vacuumed in and hit the opponent. Have a look at this. The final part of the aim assist that makes up the three parts of the Gears aim assist is adhesion. That is the new mechanic that was added to Gears 5 that was never in the other Gears game. This is the thing that people are now saying that needs to be removed, and this is the thing that's been taken out of the beta playlist for people to see how the game feels without it. So what it does, it essentially follows a target for us. I started the video in this way because I feel it's really important for people to actually understand how these three different aim assist mechanics work. To be honest with you, up until very recently, I didn't fully understand all different names of them. I understood what each thing did, I didn't know the names of each. So I wanted to relay that information onto yourself so you can give your feedback based on actually understanding how the mechanics actually work. So I started the video off with a dev stream. I did that for a reason, because I noticed in that small section a few things that Jamie said that I wanted to go over. So this whole video now this will be completely my opinion. I don't know if I'm going to be putting any actual facts in it. I don't know where I'm going to go with this. But I typed out, and I want to talk about other games, which I've already gone over with Resident 3. And it was also new to Gears 5. It's a big help. It's hindering the manual option to disable it or keep it enabled, and then feedback at the end. So, with it being new to Gears 5, I kind of want to tie that in with big help because I feel it's the same thing. Please keep in mind how in the Resident Evil video I made a point of highlighting how it's only in the easy mode for new players. Please also keep in mind how for the entirety of Gears 5, and for me personally, I said for a lot of Gears 4 as well, but for the sake of this video, for the entirety of Gears 5, a lot of the community have insisted that Gears 5 was made easy for casual players or Game Pass users to appeal to new players so that they would have more of a chance. Please keep in mind how, to some degree, developers have actually confirmed this with Rod in a pre-release interview actually stating as much, but that's going off on a whole new tangent anyway. I want to talk about how it actually is new to Gears 5, which has been said, and it is a big help, but why? I want to understand why. We had Gears of War all the way from 2006 up until the release of this in 2019 without adhesion. If not, to make the game easier for new players, I would love for one person, anyone, even if it's the cleaner, just to explain to me from TC why adhesion was added to the game if it's not to make the game easier for new players. Please can that be explained to me? As for it being hindering, I think this kind of ties in with the whole manual toggle on or off. I think for a lot of it, TC are actually hearing our feedback 100%. The problem, I don't think they are understanding it. So, right, so in the Resident Evil video, I said I turned my aim assist off because I didn't like it. That was the adhesion I was feeling, and for me, personally, I don't like games to help me. That's why I turned it off. But in Gears, the adhesion, whilst admittedly it's not as strong as it is in Resident Evil, I'm not going to pretend it is, but it's still there. So, in Gears, you can feel it, but it's not really hindering you as a player. As a user, it doesn't really throw you off missing shots. As a player, it helps you pull in your shots, which is the intended purpose of it. So, in terms of hindering, I don't see it on a user standpoint, it hindering the user. I feel like if it's hindering anybody, it's hindering the person it's hitting, because Gears, a huge part of Gears is all about the movement and your map positioning. What is the point in somebody spending however many years practicing their movement? I don't want to move towards wall bouncing too much because that's a hit or miss topic, but it falls on the movement. Any form of movement. What is the point in anybody practicing that if they are going to be hindered by a new player, which that's what adhesion's for, being able to just have the cursor follow them around for them? What's the point? You might as well just stand still and bot walk. Oh. Yeah, that's exactly what Gears 5 Online's become. It's a bot walking fest. Yes, you get some people wall bounce around, but the majority of people are bot walkers. I recently held polls, and okay, I know this doesn't speak for everybody, but I recently held polls, and the majority of people were saying they feel they die to people who are worse than them. I know that's kind of an ego thing to say, but to be honest with you, I see it, I agree. So, why has that been added? So, yes, it is hindering. So to move towards the on-off thing, who's going to do that? Personally, I do it because I don't like the game to help me. Not because it feels horrible, I just don't want to be assisted. But somebody who isn't very good at the game, who needs that help, they're going to keep that enabled. So it's hindering, I'm going back to this previous point, it's hindering the people who are getting shot at. Other than, I believe you get a little bit of XP or something, you get a little reward for turning aim assist off, I don't know. Other than that, what's the incentive to manually turn it off other than pride? There isn't one at all. So, I don't like to sound too... I don't know even know the word. There's no incentive for a bad player to turn it off. I'll be blunt. There is none. They're going to keep it on because it's going to help them. So, that kind of covers the talking points I took from the dev stream. There's a few more things I want to say in terms of my feedback as well. Magnetism. That isn't new to Gears 5. I know that. But, does it need to be in Gears 5? Can someone at the Coalition please explain to me why it is logical for a player to be able to miss, but hit? Anyone? Can someone please explain that to me? I don't see it. I don't understand the logic behind it. Friction, not a problem with that, to be honest with you. That is something that does actually help a controller player, and it's not massive. It slows you down over the character so your sticks aren't flying over the place. No problem at all with that, at all. It's not game breaking, literally, pretty much, by misses landing as hits, and it's not tracking you. That's fine. If it literally slows somebody down over you, no problem. A mouse player, a lot of mice have little sniper buttons on the side. If they were aiming over you, they could click that in. It's kind of the same thing. That's the only one section of the aim assist, in my opinion, that makes any sense. This is something I really wanted to include in this video. It is part of the official feedback thread that TC have made based on this beta test. Personally, I like to spend a lot of time on the forums because, for me, I enjoy debating. I always try to make my debates or feedback, I always try and give my responses as polite as possible, but I'll always try and support it as best I can, whether it's a fact or if I'm giving just opinion, I'll try and give reason. That's what these people are doing. These are people giving their opinions. The thing with opinions, a lot of time you will disagree with people. On a forum, that's the point of it. So, whilst you can see people's names on here, please, please, please do not decide to go message them just because you disagree with them. I would mask their names out, but honestly, there's really no point given that this is on a public forum and anyone can see it themselves anyway. But I want to read out a few that have caught my eye, and I kind of want to give not so much a response, but just my feelings towards what they've said and maybe a counter towards it, for the sake of maybe nothing more than perhaps they'll think differently, perhaps they really won't. Maybe if the devs see this video, maybe they can see another side of feedback. That's the whole point of debating for me, that's the part of it I enjoy. Okay, to start with, it's actually two posts from the same player. Played it some more, kinda hate it. Adhesion off is good, but getting rid of perfect active reload makes this a Nasher fest. I might quit this game forever if these changes are implemented. Lancer is a pea shooter and can only down players who cannot really move. At TC, if people tell you that this is how Gears of War always was or should be, then these people never played the very first Gears of War at a higher level, in which the Nasher was actually not the most versatile loadout weapon in the game. So if this goes live, then the most vocal part of the community has won. Wow, thanks but no thanks. Okay. Going back to Gears 1, I think people kind of misremember a lot of things. The host Lancer was insane. A team of 3 or 4 people getting angled Lancers on you was absolutely insane. But if you were playing Gears of War 1, or even some of the others, a weapon you used most of the time wasn't a Lancer either, it was actually the snub. So, I don't understand that part of his comment. In terms of the Lancer being a pea shooter, I want to come back to that in a second, but I want to jump to another one of this user's comments that he did not so far past here. Where is it? So he goes, so he's responding to another user. No, the Lancer is not strong in the dev. playlist and I'm not sure what he means by that, and especially not hella strong. But funny you mentioned the Gears 1 Lancer as a comparison which kind of fits. Both kind of weak iterations of the Lancer, and I never heard people thought it was strong in Gears 1, to be honest. And now it should also be clear I was not talking about a Lancer when I mentioned the most versatile Gears of War loadout weapon. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure what he meant by this fully, but I feel like he's kind of suggesting that the Gears 1 Lancer was weak. I disagree. I massively disagree. Because the Gears 1 Lancer was absolutely insane when it was used in its intended purpose, which is a supporting weapon. Now, this is a mentality players seem to have shifted towards in terms of what a supporting player is. A supporting player is there to deal a little bit of damage to a person to support their team, finish off the player. So I get the impression, talking to people like this, that they expect a Lancer to be just as effective as a Gnasher. What they want it to be just as effective at all ranges. And to them, it feels like their idea of what support is being able to kill someone across the map. I don't understand that personally, but reading this user's comments, it makes me kind of realise what I think, personally, is the issue in terms of where the mindset's shitted for Gears of War. So I played a little bit of the dev playlist, and I was doing nothing but Lancering, just trying to see if it was any different. So before I go into it, you can see here I've responded to him. Obviously, I do tests before I reply, but I've replied to this user and said, the Lancer is the exact same in the developer playlist, except it no longer has active damage boost. The issue that you are facing is the game is no longer aiming for you. You expected to do this by yourself. The weapon deals the same damage regardless of range if you can be accurate. The weapon can down in headshots 0.9 seconds, body shots 1.1 seconds. So, I'm not entirely sure what this user's seeing. So, I went into Gears, got onto the beta playlist, and this is what I did. So my response to this user's feedback is I'm confused by it. My only assumption, it's so hard to give feedback like this without sounding like a complete knob. I'm sorry, but my only assumption is surely you're missing. Because in tests, which I'm not going to put in this video because it's like 5 minutes long on its own, but I've got it on my channel if you want to see it. But I've done tests, and it's on my channel, that shows the timings of the Lancers, and it's around a second. So you can see it here. I've typed it for him. Headshots 0.9 seconds, body shots 1.1 seconds. I've tested this information, and that's with non-active bullets as well, which is what we've got in this playlist. Okay? I don't understand why he feels like it's a pea shooter, because I've also tested that's the same at all ranges. If you're landing that amount of headshots, it was still down in that many bullets. Okay, that makes it more difficult for times. You've got to be more accurate. Okay, I'm not denying that. But it's still possible if you're accurate. So for him to say here that it's a pea shooter, it's still just as strong. It can still do this. We've just seen in the videos I've just done there when I was completely abusing it, that you can go into Nasher battles with it and still be downing people, which is wrong. It is so wrong. That is not a supporting weapon in that situation. Which leads me on to say, that I think it's still overpowered. And I say this because, yes, they are removing adhesion, but magnetism is still present, and the timings I've got down here, this is kind of getting onto a different topic, but it's so relevant. These are the timings in which I tested back on Gears of War 4 Core, and everyone said that was too powerful as well. So what exactly is this? What are we going to expect from this? Yes, adhesion's gone, which makes it feel like Gears of War 4. Cool, we're taking a step in the right direction. But are we? Because everyone complained about Gears of War 4 Core because the Lancer was too strong. This is exactly how it's going to be. The only difference we're going to have now is you have to burst fire your shots. What's difficult about that? Absolutely nothing. So recently I put on Twitter that I'd like to see this beta test in a different game mode, a single life mode. Because for me, a King of the Hill mode is just way too casual. Especially when it's not in ranked. As soon as this gets into ranked, people are going to be trying so hard. The Lancers are going to be out. They are going to be going for those burst shots. I reckon you'll see a lot more burst firing around mid-range. I think that's what we're going to see. Because reason being, at long distance, without the aim adhesion, it is quite difficult. I won't pretend, but good. Why should it be able to perform in around 1 second at long range? That's what a sniper does, and that's a power weapon. You spawn with a Lancer. It should have its limits on how useful it is. So my prediction when this gets into ranked, if aim adhesion is removed and actives are gone, my prediction is it's going to be absolutely awful still. Why? I feel like it's still overpowered because this is the timings that one Lancer can do to you. One. It's never a one-on-one situation against a Lancer in ranked. It's usually at least a 3v1, which cuts these times down. I'm not going to go like divide. There's absolutely no point. You get the idea. You go down in the time you can blink or faster, and people play differently when it's for ranked as well, as I've covered in a completely different video. So when it comes into ranked, I still want to see magnetism go. And I also want to see some changes to the timings. So here, this is how long it takes. I would be fine with 0.9 seconds remaining for headshots, because I feel like if somebody can be accurate enough to a headshot, okay, no real issue with that, really. Body shots, I would like to see that increase to around 1.3 or 1.4 seconds to down. That's not a huge amount of time. I'm not exactly saying I want to take 5 seconds to down them. That'd be stupid. But make it take slightly longer to down, because the way it is now, it prevents you actually moving around. As the person receiving the damage, you can't really confidently change one piece of cover to another. So a lot of things I hear from people, it's that we're running head down in the open and that's why we're getting caught out. But that's not the situation that's actually happening. What's actually happening is someone gets bored of sitting in cover and cannot move. And with the timings the way it is now, it's impossible. Even against one Lancer, it's very difficult with the timings like this. So just adding that little bit more, 1.3, 1.4 seconds for body shots, that means that the player on the receiving end of the fire can make a move. They can go somewhere. So I completely disagree with this user. I still think we're going to get a huge problem, even if this change comes in, which is a good change, but we're going to still have a huge problem because the Lancer still needs a nerf. And I say that because we're going back to Gears of War 4 core, and I said all along that needs a nerf. So that's not changed. Just because they've made something biblically worse for no apparent reason, that doesn't mean removing it suddenly makes everything good again. No, it means we're back to the position we used to be in, where there was still a problem with the Lancer being overpowered. That needs to be nerfed. There's so many on this forum thread that honestly I could happily sit here and respond to every single one. I'm not going to. This is the last one I want to do because it's something that... It's not so much feedback, but it's something I see a lot and I kind of just want to talk about. I don't know if these people genuinely believe this, or if they just see something that I don't, or maybe I see something they don't. I don't know, but this is clearly where the complete divide in the community is, a completely different mindset. So it's this one here. I think that it is just sad that every time I get on this game, something is getting reworked. Just leave the weapons alone so it forces people to get out their heads about the Nasher only battles. An active Lancer is something you should pick and choose when to fire back or run. With that not being a fear anymore, it has me worried about the game just not going to be as bad afterwards. That was actually quite difficult to read, sorry. The first part of this person's comment, I agree and disagree. Getting onto the game to see it completely different all the time, yes, it's frustrating, but it's also a good thing to see that TC are trying to change things for the better. The problem I have with it more so, and it's something I've said this entire time, with Gears of War 4 they had a competitive beta playlist for quite a long time, and they come up with competitive beta 2.8 tuning. I know I don't see every single piece of feedback, but I see a lot and a lot and a lot of feedback, and I also give my own too. And I can't actually think of a single bit of feedback I've seen about the 2.8 beta that said it was bad. Genuinely cannot think of a single one person that said it was a bad tuning. They had it perfect and they were getting nothing but praise. So why did they then move on to Gears 5 and forget all that? So in that sense, I find it frustrating to see it getting reworked again now based on that. But in terms of actual changes, no, I'm glad to see it. In terms of the other part, in terms of the weapons and leaving it alone and people getting out of their heads of Nasher only battles, I could rant on for days about this. I've made a video where I ranted for so long and I don't want to do that. But I wish people like this would understand that yes, we enjoy the Nasher battles. Yes, that is what we probably will do a lot of the time. But we don't want to see the Lancer useless. We want a balance. We want all weapons to have a role again. We want the Nasher to be the slaying weapon. We want the Lancer to be the supporting weapon. We want the Snub to be a supporting weapon as well, but once you're out of ammo. Or in a bit of a different position, which, if you understand, you understand. We want the weapons to have their roles back. But right now, as it stands on Gears 4 and Gears 5, in core for Gears 4, sorry, the Lancer, it's just as dominant, if not more dominant, as the Nasher at slaying. That's not supporting. So, yes, we do enjoy the Nasher battles, but no, don't leave the weapons alone because the Lancer is not tuned correctly for its purpose.